Ladies and gentlemen, Side Strafe back with some more World of Tanks, and today I am on my press account once again in order to bring you a special look at a Tier 3 medium premium tank which hasn't been released yet, at least according to most of my viewers. Now, this is something that I'm definitely going to mispronounce, and I apologize ahead of time, but we're looking at the Grotraktor by Krupp company, and I really do try to pronounce things correctly, but even with Bismarck helping me out, just not able to pull it off. Anyways, I believe the literal translation is big tractor, and this is something that I'm not really familiar with, so we're going to start out with some garage talk and then go ahead and move into some gameplay footage. But let's start out on the research page. Now, the vehicle details. This experimental combat vehicle was developed by the Krupp company as a medium tank. By 1929, 2 prototypes were manufactured from non-armor steel. They underwent trials in the Soviet Union from 1930 through 1933. The trials revealed multiple faults, and the vehicle never saw service. However, the results of vehicle development were later used by German engineers. Okay, so going to go ahead and open up some more vehicle details here for you so you can see all the statistics. And let's go through these components. So you're going to have a short barrel L24 75mm gun, 10.91 rounds a minute. Average penetration with respective ammunition, 43, 87, 38, 110, 110, 175 as far as damage, 0.55 dispersion at 100 meters, 2.2 aim time, 780 kilogram weight. Your turret, as you can also see on the left, 14 millimeters of frontal, slightly sloped armor, 8 side and rear, 41 traverse speed, 330 view range. FUG 6 radio, 345 signal range. You've got a BMW VA with 250 horsepower, and your tracks are going to allow you to traverse 36 degrees a second. You can see here that you've got 320 hit points. Your speed is actually 44 kilometers an hour, which is not bad, actually. It is a weird-looking tank. It's really long. You'd think that it would be slow, but in a straight line, not bad. It's able to hit that 44 pretty quickly. I will tell you that it does suffer on turns. You're not going to be able to do anything tight there. So that 36 traverse is there to help you out a little bit. Not amazing, but it gets the job done. Configuration, there we've already taken a look at that. Lots of crew. You can see commander, gunner, driver, radio operator, and 2 loaders, probably accounting for somebody on the rear turret as well. So let's go back to the garage and analyze the model. So from the front, you can see that we have an extreme slope here and some curvature on the middle, which might promote bouncing against lower caliber weapons. But again, 14 millimeters, which might only be measured here for all we know. Not sure about the rest of the tank. More often than not in World of Tanks, a lot of the armor measurements are only at one portion. For the most part, sometimes it's at the seam or the middle portion of the armor there where the upper glacis meets the lower. So I'm not sure, but that's most likely. Again, you might be able to promote a bounce here, but I wouldn't count on it, especially against higher tiers. You will see up to tier 5, and they can pretty much shoot you anywhere. So you're most likely going to want to use this as a side scraper. You can see that you've got a lot of side armor here, really flat, and as you can see, clearly spaced. So I would take advantage of that. Hide as much of this as you can. However, turret is really close up to the front, so that might be kind of difficult. So just coming around here, you can see that we do have a lot of exposed track, rough against artillery fire, and here you can see the side a little bit more, perhaps some weaker areas here, but generally if anything is able to shoot at your side, you're going to get penetrated for the most part. Sides of the turret, here you can see that strange rear mounted machine gun turret, it looks like there. The 8 millimeters of rear as well. So you see one of these things, feel free to shoot it anywhere. I will say that I have some, or have had some strange bounces from the front. Again, only against very low caliber weapons. Biggest successes have been in side scraping tactics, getting the enemy to promote a bounce there. Okay, so with that said, again, you've got a huge crew here that you'll have to deal with. But as far as equipment, I would suggest improved ventilation and enhanced gun laying drive. Beyond that, it's your choice. I haven't really put anything in here yet. Ammunition types, I would suggest bringing in some premium ammunition, just because dealing with tier 5s, you're going to suffer, as you're only doing 32, 54 according to this, and then you're raising that to 65, 109 with premium. Don't be afraid to bring in some premium rounds. It's just a part of the game now. It does cost more. I don't know that I would bring in this much. These are just default stock loadouts that came with the press account. I just haven't switched them over yet. Spending this much money on a tier 3, probably a little cuckoo, so I don't know that I would do that. But, you know, it is what it is. I just haven't touched it yet. And I probably wouldn't spend this on a auto extinguisher, but it was just there. I just changed it over to credits instead of gold. So again, this is a stock loadout, not a recommended configuration. I would probably lower these amounts just because I don't think it's worth spending this many credits on a tier 3. So there's that. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at some gameplay. I hereby dub the Grotraktor because, let's face it, most of us can't pronounce this thing correctly, so I'm just going to call it like I see it. And she ain't pretty, that's for sure, but we've got an R2-D2 on the back there. He can help you out with any repairs you might need, perhaps. Okay, well, maybe not, but it's wishful thinking, I suppose. But anyway, moving right along, this is a good example of a match or map that would probably suit this tank a little bit more, just because there's a lot of building cover. And as you'll see, this thing moves all right in a straight line. It's just when you're trying to make those corners, it's not so hot. Now, this was one of the early games I had with this tank before I realized that I should really take advantage of the side scraping potential it has. Again, it's not perfect just because the armor is so super light, but I have managed to make it work. Here you can see our first target, and direct hit, lots of damage in on him as he tries to return some fire. Missing most of his shots, doing a tiny bit of damage on the first salvo as we back off here and take a look at our mini-map to see what we've got going on. One more target up front. As you can see, I'm taking all the time in the world to let my reticle settle down. I definitely recommend a gun laying drive because the aim time is not fantastic, and the gun just in general is not all that accurate. But as you can see, when you do manage to hit, especially when you're at the top of the tier list, you're going to do a lot of damage to these light tanks and send them packing, of course. But there's that last shot, which was a miss. Again, you really need to work on your leading skills when it comes to this gun. Next target, once again letting the reticle settle to make sure that we get the best aim possible, and he is bailing. Now keep in mind, on this press account, crew is trained 100% plus, so you're seeing this tank perform at its best currently. At this point, I had decided to full throttle forward, and you can see that this thing picks up pretty good speed. It manages to hit its top speed pretty quickly, I think. And as you'll see around this corner, the turning radius is not fantastic. We've got 3 tank destroyers up in front of us, and it's not nimble enough to really get through them quickly or reliably. As you'll see here, this one tank destroyer comes up in front of me, stops in the middle of the road to take a shot. I have to cut around. I end up hitting some debris, can't get a really steady shot, and I'm too late on that final kill. Now in this next matchup, I wanted to test out the tank's long-range capabilities, which I already knew it had none. It's a short barrel, 75 millimeter. You can see how slow the tracer moves, very low velocity gun, so you have to try to lead these targets. We just barely hit that last tank there. I believe the shot landed somewhere near the rear of the tank. And here we progressed the match a little bit just because there was a lot of camping going on that round, and I figure I'd show you the standoff with the Lee here. Now, they have only 3 vehicles in total, one of which is ATD, the other artillery, and of course the Lee over here. And I believe the artillery was trying to pinpoint my location, so I had to keep moving. I didn't want to go too far forward because I wasn't sure where their tank destroyer was. So I'm kind of playing games here with the Lee. I don't think he's really sure what he's dealing with or what to do. He knows that he doesn't have a turret, so it's hard for him to get a shot off on me. I'm just trying to follow him. Near miss by some artillery there. The Lee looks to be in full retreat, giving me the backside and the side of his tank, and I just keep putting rounds into him. Artillery, you can see it looks like he's double tracked at this point, and waiting for that shot for the elimination. And that's going to be it for this matchup. The rest of the team manages to take care of the others. Here we have yet another city map, which is, again, the type of environment that will play to this vehicle's strength. And you can see here I'm actually doing some side scraping just in case we've got a lot of tanks down the lane. And shot out. Some heavy damage on that medium there. I pull back in while I reload, and you can see how this would work and how you should probably use this tank's size and shape. However, again, biggest issue is the turrets closer to the front, and it might make side scraping difficult. Typically, you want a tank where the turret's closer to the middle or the back for the best side scraping potential. Now, at this point, I do have some backup, so I decided to move forward. This lane appeared to be clear for the most part, but sometimes you have to be careful. Often you go down that road and somebody's camping all the way in the back. So I decided to turn into these buildings a little bit more, get some cover. I do notice they still have artillery, so I want to be mindful of that as well. And I'm just playing a bit of peekaboo around here, also watching the mini-map as well. And trying to stick with the rest of the team. I'm thinking that I'd like to go around here and check for some targets. I see a unit in front of me. I decide to pull back, knowing that I don't really want to deal with that T-34 head-on. I am the low man on the totem pole here, not doing so well against tanks of that type. So I decide to stick with the heavier T-14 and back him up if possible. We've also got this T-28, T-14 looking in the other direction. At this point, I start to hear the shots from the T-34. T-28 comes out in the open. I'm hoping to get some shots into him here. That one doesn't make it, and I'm wondering if it's going to pull forward. There it is. Shot into the side. He takes out the T-28. T-14 is exposing his flank to the enemy at this point. We know that the strongest point of the T-14 is the front, and he's not utilizing that, so he's just fighting him with his side armor exposed. I know that I need to flank the T-34 in order to take him out. I am switched over to high explosive anti-tank rounds at this point, mostly because of the tiering, and I haven't really thought about switching back over just because we're in the middle of a firefight here. So T-34 down, but unfortunately the T-14 is also out of action. Had he repositioned his tank to take advantage of the frontal armor and maybe even the cover of the T-28 wreck, he might have at least survived a little bit longer. Pretty close game here, as you can see. At this point, I'm figuring it's best for me to try to hit their base in hopes of luring some of their tanks away from our spawn. I could, of course, try to go for a capture, but it's only me and the M8A1 that are able to do so, and I know that it will just take too long. By the time we get to the flag, they'll report back to us and have us surrounded, as there's not too much cover in that flag area. So I'm deciding to go in, maybe get some kills at least. We've got some Artie that I know is low on health. I figure that I can finish him off. There he is, but we run into this troublesome Matilda, and I'm sure many of you are aware of how tricky their armor can be at times. That going into spaced armor right there, so that's not going to do very well for me. Second shot, and you can see he hits me really hard. I'm trying to aim above to go past the spacing, and already inbound, almost buying the farm on that shot. We managed to put him out of action for a little bit there, and the M8 coming into play, finishing him off. Now, they have one TD, but unfortunately they have a Matilda, which is the tank that really freaks me out in this matchup, just because I know how much armor they have, and if he's upgunned, he's going to have that high rate of fire, high penetration, and that's all he needs to take me out, and this M8A1. Now, in that last engagement, I could have potentially tried for some more side scraping, but I think it's one of those things where you realize it when you're watching a replay or a video, but when you're actually in the thick of it, you don't think of it at the time. So it's one of those things where it's like, oh, I'm stopping because there's two targets in front of me, I need to shoot, but you don't really think too much about positioning. I don't know that a side scrape maneuver would have helped me anymore against that Matilda. You know, I had some wall cover that I could have used, but it would have been rough in any case, I think. At this point, I thought it would be best to stick with my teammate here. Unfortunately, not necessarily a great idea. Had I known that Matilda was there, had I paid a little bit more attention to the minimap, I might have been able to flank around from the left, but I cannot stand a chance against that high penetration value gun that he's got there. He also has a lot of armor at the front. I'm not even sure my heat rounds are going to really get through him, especially when he's angled like he was. Plus, my speed, just not enough to get past him. The M8, unfortunately, valiant effort, but again, not really going to stand a chance against this Matilda. And this was a game that started out all right for me, but just ended up with some bad luck here, facing some tanks that were a bit more than I could deal with in the Grotraktor. So anyways, ladies and gentlemen, with that said, I really hope that you've enjoyed this look at the big tractor, the Big Daddy tractor, perhaps. Is this the father of the LOL tractor? Could this be the new premium that makes people giggle every time they see it? I'll leave that for you to decide. I know it has piqued a few of your interests, and it is apparently going to cost 950 gold. At least that's what's listed in the European Tankopedia. I'll have a link to that in the description below. But with all of that said, thank you so very much for joining me. I will definitely see you on the next one.